Hello all, welcome back to Project Mastery Podcast, where we talk about real-world project management, beyond the buzzwords and beyond the tools. Today, I want you all to imagine this. You have the best tools, AI dashboards, project trackers, automation, analytics, but your team is confused. Stakeholders are frustrated. Despite all the technology, your project is stuck. If this sounds familiar, this episode is for you. Because in this AI era, it's not just about what tools you use, it is about how you communicate, how you influence people, how you stay calm under pressure. We're going to talk about top 3 soft skills that every project manager must master. The number 1 communication skill. Number 1 being communication. This is the superpower for a project manager. Number 2 is going to be stakeholder management and influence, where you lead without authority. Number 3 is emotional intelligence, being the calm center of the storm. Let's dive in. We'll start at the big one, communication. If you take your years of project experience and compress them into one lesson, it is this: project rarely fails because people are bad. Project often fails because people are confused. They don't have the same picture in their head. One person thinks the feature is simple, another thinks it includes 3 integrations and a new workflow. Leadership thinks it's going live next month. The team knows it needs at least 2 more sprints. The gap is in understanding. This is where delays, conflicts, and late night escalations are born. Your job as a project manager is to be a clarity machine. You need to adapt the message to the audience. Good communication doesn't mean sending long emails. It means you need to adapt your message based on who you're talking to. To leadership, you may say, here is where we are, here is a risk, here is a decision I need from you. In a communicative team, you might say, here is what changed, here is what we are keeping, and here is what we need to do next. When it comes to communicating to customers or end users, for example, you would say, here is what you can expect, and here is the timeline. Same project, different message, tailored delivery. Complexity is going to be there everywhere. You need to make complexity simple. Especially in AI projects, this becomes even more critical. Let's take an example here. Instead of saying, the model generalizes poorly to unseen data, you can say, our AI works well on past examples, but it gets less accurate when the data looks very different from what it has seen before. We either need more time to improve it, or we adjust the scope. You are not dumbing it down. You are making it understandable so people can make good decisions. It has to be a two-way approach and not a one-way. Communication is not, I have sent a mail. It is, they have clearly understood. So as a project manager, you need to get into the habit of checking, can someone repeat the plan in their own words? Are we all clear on who owns what and by when? These are all simple questions, but powerful questions. Rhythm and consistency plays a role here. Strong communication has rhythm. A short weekly status summary, a daily stand-up for teams that needs it, regular review points before major milestones. When your communication is consistent, people trust the process. Here are the key learnings when it comes to communication. Communication is going to be the superpower for a project manager in creating shared understanding. Tailor your message to your audience, leadership, team, or customer. You need to simplify the complex topics, especially in AI and tech-heavy projects. Don't assume sent means understood. You should always confirm. Build a regular communication rhythm so no one feels in the dark. Let's move on to the next segment, which is stakeholder management and influence, where you lead without authority. Here's the reality. As a project manager, you really have full authority. As a project manager, you rarely have full authority. You can't just order people around. Developers report to the tech leads. Business analysts report to a different manager. Vendors have their own priorities. Yet somehow, you are responsible for the delivery. So how do you lead without authority? This is where influence comes in. You need to know what stakeholders really care about. Every stakeholder has a hidden line in their head that says, what do I get out of this project? A CEO might care about risk, stability, and reputation. A business owner cares about revenue, customer satisfaction, and deadlines. A data scientist might care about model quality and technical excellence. If you talk to all of them in the same language, you will lose them. For example, instead of saying, we need more time for testing, you might say to business leadership, if we don't invest this extra week in testing, the risk of failure post-launch is much higher, and that could affect customer trust and support cost. With one extra week, we can significantly reduce that risk. You are not just pushing for time, you are aligning with what they care about. Influence through trust is required, influence not through pressure. Stakeholders support project managers they trust. Trust is going to be built when you share bad news early instead of hiding it. You don't have to overpromise or underdeliver. You should give credit to others when things go well. You need to be consistent and fair in how you handle conflicts. When people know you're honest, they are more likely to back your plans. You need to manage conflicts like a referee. Projects naturally create disagreements. Tech versus business priorities, speed versus quality, cost versus scope. Your job is not to win the argument. Your job is to clarify and facilitate decisions. You might say, let's step back. What is the real problem we are solving? There are 2 options. Option A, faster but riskier. Option B, slower but more stable. Which aligns better with our current priorities? You need to ask these questions. You bring structure to emotional conversations. Stakeholder maps and power interest grid are simple essential tools you can use. These tools help you to decide where to focus your energy. High power, high interest means you manage closely. High power, low interest means you keep satisfied. Low power, high interest means you keep them informed. Low power, low interest means you monitor them only. That's a separate episode where I have covered a clear understanding of this tool. Please refer to the episode. Not all stakeholders are equal in impact. Smart project managers know where to invest their time. What are the key learnings from the stakeholder management and influence skill? You lead through influence, not authority. First, understand what each stakeholder really cares about. Align your communication and request with their goals. Build trust. Be transparent, consistent, and fair. You need to use simple tools like Power Interest Grid to prioritize where to focus. Let's move to the third soft skill, which is called emotional intelligence, the calm center of the storm. Projects are emotional. Deadlines slip. Requirements change. Leadership pressurizes the team. In AI projects, people might even worry, will this automation replace my job? In the middle of all this, the project manager can become one of the two things, either the amplifier of stress or the calm center of the storm. We need to aim for the second one. Self-awareness and self-control is really important here. It starts with you. You will feel stress, you will feel frustration, you might even feel like blaming someone when things go wrong. But a project manager with strong EQ or emotional intelligence or emotional quotient pauses and is going to ask this question: what am I feeling right now? Is my reaction going to help or hurt the situation? Instead of saying, why are you always late with your task? You might say, I have noticed the last 2 tasks slipped. What is blocking you? Let us see how we can fix that together. Same situation, completely different energy. You need to read the room. EQ means observing others. In a meeting, watch more than just the slides. Who suddenly went quiet? Who looks defensive? Who looks annoyed? Who seems disengaged? After the meeting, you can follow up. An example, I noticed you were quiet when we discussed the timeline. Do you see any risk we are missing? The one question can surface issues early before they explode into real problems. Having empathy with boundaries. Empathy doesn't mean saying yes to everything. It means understanding people and working with them. If someone is overloaded, you might say, I know you are not stressed across multiple projects. Let's look at your workload together and see what we can realistically commit to on this project. You acknowledge their situation, but you still protect the project's commitments by reprioritizing, escalating, or adjusting scope. Psychological safety needs to be created. High-performing teams have one thing in common. People feel safe to speak up. For example, they can say, I don't understand this requirement. I think this timeline is unrealistic. This is designed as a risk we are not talking about. As a project manager, you can encourage this by thanking people for raising issues, not shooting the messenger. Separating problems from people is important here. Early truth saves projects. Please keep this in mind. Silence kills them. The key learnings from emotional intelligence skill. Let's list them. Emotional intelligence helps you stay calm and effective under pressure. Self-awareness allows you to choose your response, not just react. Reading the room helps you detect issues early. Empathy plus boundaries means support people and protect delivery. Psychological safety encourages people to surface a risk before it is too late. Let's wrap this up. In an AI-driven world, tools will keep changing, new platforms, new dashboards, new automation everywhere. But 3 soft skills that will stay timeless. One being communication, where you create shared understanding. Second being stakeholder management and influence, where you lead without authority. Emotional intelligence being the third one, where you stay calm and human in the middle of chaos. If you focus on building these 3 muscles, you don't just manage projects, you lead people. Before we close, here's a simple reflection exercise for you. Which of the 3 is your biggest strength today? Which one do you feel you need to improve the most in the next 90 days? Pick one small practical habit for each. For communication, maybe send a clear weekly summary to your key stakeholders. For influence, you can schedule a one-to-one with a critical stakeholder to understand their priorities. For EQ, pause before reacting in stressful moments and ask, what is the most helpful response right now? If you have enjoyed this episode, share it with the project manager on your team, and don't forget to follow the Project Mastery Podcast. Please do subscribe to Project Mastery Podcast so that you don't miss upcoming episodes. Thank you for tuning in. Stay calm, stay clear, and keep leading with purpose.